Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the AJ Analysis channel, where we're back with another live stream, and we are back continuing our mission to fix Manchester United ahead of next season. So far, of course, what we have done is spoken about Manchester United in possession. The first phase, slow ball progression and creating chances in the final third. We've also had a look at Manchester United defending. Today, what we're going to do is go for the bit in between and talk about Manchester United in transitional situations. Because it's gone from being a real strength of ours a few years ago under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, we were amazing on the counter-attack, to becoming a bit of a problem, particularly from a defensive point of view. However, in pre-season, we have seen some slight changes already. So today we're basically going to have a little chat. We're going to have a conversation about how we can fix United in the transition in terms of profiles of players that we can use, setups and systems, and even footballing ideas, I guess, that we can implement before then looking at Manchester United players as individuals and how they fit into it all. Before we do any of that, get yourselves in the chat and let me know how you're doing. How is life? How are you feeling about Manchester United? The summer series is now over, so we can return to normal sleep schedules, apart from you, David. Sorry about that. But how are we feeling? It's been a long 10 days for United, it feels. Maybe more so for me because I've been staying up and watching the games. I've done 3 all-nighters on those games. I think it's been a good pre-season for United so far. I think we've improved in several different areas. I think we're getting better at certain things, and that's fun to see. I think we're seeing some different ideas from Amorim. But I think we also all know that there are things that need work still. There are holes in the squad in terms of signings. You know, we probably still need 2, maybe even 3 transfers. Probably the last game really showcased that the most. But I think generally speaking, I think it's been pretty good so far. So I'm fairly confident about Manchester United at the moment. Who have we got in the chat today? Well, I'll tell you what, we got a lot of people. We got Steve, we got Beef. Good morning, Beef. How are you? We got David. We got everyone. We got Pablo. We got so many different people. We got Sid. Good morning to you all. Hope you guys are well. Yeah, how are you feeling? How are you feeling about United? How do you think the pre-season's going? I'm positive so far. We've also got David in the chat with his 18-month membership. That's insane. 18-month membership. David, thank you very much for your support as always. Guys, remember, if you see in the chat anyone gifting memberships, anyone renewing their membership, anyone super chatting or anything like that, fill that chat with a load of love hearts, a load of flames to basically say thank you and to make sure that I don't miss them. Like Beef there in the chat with the 17-month membership saying, would you ship Ugarte if it meant affording Baleba? Yes, Beef, I would. I would be all over that. I would be all over that. I think there's been a lot of talks the past week, right, about United needing a midfielder. We've got to remember, right, Ugarte had a bad game the other night. He's not always that bad. You know, that was a particularly bad one. That was really an awful, awful performance. He doesn't turn that in, week out, and I don't think we should pretend that he does. But I also think we all feel he's a little bit limited. And, you know, just to go off on a bit of a tangent here, I think when we look at the Manchester United midfield solutions that we've got right now, it feels like we've got two duos, really. We've got Casemiro and Bruno Fernandes, who can be a midfield pairing, or we've got Mainu and Ugarte. And, you know, even if you combined them all, you got these 4 and you mix and match them, it doesn't feel possible to quite get a duo which works in this system. You know, in a 4-3-3, apologies for the doggos who had Doggo Bingo barking 4 minutes into the stream. Let me know. Is he going to stop? We'll see. But no matter what way you take these 4 midfielders and try and put them together into a 2-man midfield, it just doesn't work. There's always something missing no matter what we do with these guys. So it is a problem for United. I might just need to go and see what the dog's barking at to make sure no one's breaking into the house. We'll give him a minute and see what he does. Forgot about Collier. Normally I would include Collier in the conversation, but it seems like he's going out on loan. All right, I'm just going to have to go check that because it seems like someone might be breaking into the house and I don't want to die. So I'll be right back. I just realised I didn't turn the mic off through all of that, so you still just heard the doggos barking. I do apologise for that. Yeah, it's just a postman at the door. Just a postman at the door, and the dog's in full defensive mode. I thought I muted the mic whilst I left. I pressed the wrong button and muted the wrong thing, so apologies for that. You would have heard dogs just going absolutely mental. So, sorry about that. It wouldn't be one of these streams, though, without someone interrupting, right? It wouldn't be one of these streams. Anyway, what were we talking about? We were talking about Collier. We were talking about Toby Collier. Yes, normally I would include him as a midfield option, a player that we can talk about. But I think he's going out on loan. I assume he's going to be going out on loan. So, yeah, I'm not going to include him in this conversation. Back to the other four in midfield. They don't work. They don't work. Ugarte and Bruno, put them together, there's something missing. Casemiro and Kobe, there's something missing. Casemiro and Bruno, there's something missing. No matter what way we put those midfielders in the team, there's something not quite right. There's something not quite right. So that's probably one of the things we're going to discover in this stream. If we're talking about transitions, when the pitch is big, when the pitch is open and there's large spaces, some of these guys are going to struggle. So that is probably something that we will come back to a little bit later on. Yeah, I do apologise for the doggos. They were just going after the postman, but the postman lived. The doggos did not eat the postman. So, W, and we're safe. We love that. AJ, do you think McTominay would have worked in our pivot? Yeah, I think he could have done. I don't think he'd have been the holding midfielder that we needed. You know, I don't think we could have gone McTominay and Kobe as a duo in midfield. I don't think that would have solved the problem. I think what we would have had is another player who fits into that role of, like, he could play where Bruno's playing, he could play where Kobe's playing, but not with them, not alongside them. So, yeah, I just still don't think it would have been quite right. I think he'd have played a little bit higher up the pitch. 4 isn't enough, despite the lack of European games. If Collier goes out, I assume someone is coming in. My view normally, in terms of trying to build a squad, is you need 2 for each role, and then a backup that can maybe do both. Is how I tend to look at it. So even at left centre-back, we need 2 left centre-backs, 2 middle centre-backs, 2 right centre-backs, and then perhaps 1 more that can cover the positions. Midfield, I would tend to say the same as well. Do you think Yoro has greater potential being the central centre-back or the right centre-back? I think we should also include left centre-back in that question. I think he's got the potential to play all 3. I think the middle centre-back perhaps would restrict him too much on the ball. We've seen a Lenny Yoro, particularly in pre-season, that's really adventurous, kind of striding out from the back, carrying the ball into space, kind of being creative in the final third as well, which we don't normally get from centre-backs. So I think for now I would say the outside centre-back, because I think it gives him that freedom to explore a little bit more. Yes, his cat Jess is also okay. Shout out the Postman Pat reference. I know he's a bit more of an 8, but I really feel Mount has the aggressive nature needed to move into midfield. I think he could do a job in there. I don't know that we will ever see him put in there long term, but I think, again, let's move some people out of the way here. Let's take Ugarte, Casemiro, let's get Bruno and Kobe out of the way. We know that on the ball, sometimes we go into that shape where we've got a sort of solo pivot where a midfielder drops deeper and the other midfielder moves a little bit higher. You can imagine Mount in there, can't you? You can absolutely imagine Mason Mount playing in that position. There's every opportunity for him to do that. So I think he could be there. I think we also, if we're just having a quick pre-season summary so far, is he making it difficult to leave him out against Arsenal? I think he's been very, very effective. A lot of it with his defensive work. We know the way he presses is very good. He leads the press well. He's just intelligent. He works incredibly hard. We know that Amorim likes him. But even on the ball, he's bringing a lot to this team right now. He's not Cunha in the sense that he's going to pick the ball up and drive 40 yards and take defences on in that manner. But in terms of the linking work he does, some of the round the corner work he does, it's becoming difficult to leave Mount out, which is creating a really interesting headache ahead of the first weekend of the season. That Arsenal game, going into that one, there's going to be some really big decisions to make. When we get closer, we'll do a preview for that game. And actually picking our 11 for that game is going to be difficult. Hopefully we've got more to choose from then as well. We've got Grace in the chat with a £2 super chat. Thank you very much for the support. Guys, good job on the love hearts. That made sure I noticed it. Wharton and Baleba alternatives for half the price. So you're asking for different players that we could go for in that position that are a little bit cheaper. I'll be honest. I think it's difficult to find the exact ideal partner for what we've got in midfield, which is probably why it's taken a little bit of time. Finding the best partner for Bruno is tough, particularly when we think Bruno might leave next summer. So it's weird to sort of go spend 80 million on a partner for Bruno if he's going to leave next year. So it is difficult. The question is the profile that we need. I think someone like Stack, for example, going to Leeds, he'd have been a good option for the squad. I think Hackney would have been a good option for the squad. Javi Guerra at Valencia would be a good option. But again, I'm not sure that any of them are literally perfect. So it's difficult really to give an exact alternative that I feel suits the team. It is tough. It is difficult. I think my aim would be to go and sign a quality footballer, a high quality footballer who not necessarily is a perfect partner for anything that we've got, but is physically very capable and technically very secure on the ball. That's the sort of player that I would be looking for and trying to build around, because then should we ever pivot in a different direction, then we still have the capability to do that if we sign that sort of player. So rather than a specific, it's got to be a perfect Bruno partner in a double pivot, I just want a very good midfielder, because I think we lack that at the moment, and probably for a while. But thank you very much for the super chat. And again, guys, thank you very much for pointing out. Agume, yeah, would be right up there. Right up there. I like him a lot. And again, I think he's a player that could play in a 4-2-3-1, a 4-3-3, maybe as a solo pivot, which I don't say for many players. I think he could do that role. He's probably my favourite sort of bargain solution. I don't know if he would immediately come in and be a starter in this team. It would potentially take a little bit of time, but he would be right up there. He would be right up there. Mount 25-26 Players Player of the Year. You heard it here first. We know that Amorim likes him. We know that he seems to get the system. We know that he gives 100%. We know that he's technically very good. Probably become a little bit underrated. Can he stay fit is the big question. I hope for his sake, and of course for ours as well, I hope for his sake he can, because I still think there's a seriously gifted player there. That left-hand position is going to become a little bit full, though. We're going to have some serious conversations next summer in terms of who stays, who gets booted. Because at the moment, we've got Cunha can play left 10, we've got Mount, we've got Mainu, we've got Xerxes, we've got Bruno. There's probably more. I'm probably missing someone. So we are going to have to have a conversation at some point. Steve asked about the first sneeze. I think it might be coming. We're good. We're good. I know we're hardwired to understand the 4 at the back system, but does it frustrate anyone else that we actually have an elite 4-3-3 or 4-2-3-1 team? It does annoy me, Steve. Yes. I think we are one midfielder away, and obviously like a top-level striker, we know that. But, you know, a 4-3-3, a 4-2-3-1 team, we are close to having something beautiful. We actually are. But I think we can achieve similar things in Amorim's system if he's a bit more flexible, which he has started to be in pre-season. I don't know if you guys noticed that. The last game, who did we play? Everton. A bit of a dull one, wasn't it? A bit boring. But that front three was really rotational in the first half. We had Cunha and Mbumo and Bruno with a front three. So Mbumo starts on the right wing or in that right 10 position. But there were moments in that first half where he was actually sort of hugging the touchline on the left. So I enjoyed that fluidity. And that's sort of a sign, in my opinion, of us taking a next step. I think the other thing we've seen a lot more in pre-season is central progression. I've been crying out for that for a long time. We're starting to see that. So I think these are positives. It's not been perfect in pre-season. There's a long way to go. But seeing positives, seeing movement in the right direction is good. That's what we've wanted to see. So hopefully it continues and just kind of keeps getting better. I think there was a comment that Amorim made the other day. I can't remember exactly what it was now. But it was along the lines of, last season I had to stick with the idea to sort of get the ideas there. And then as the team understands the base level a bit more, sort of the basics of the idea, then we can add to it. You know, so we kind of create the foundation. This is our system. This is what we do. And then as we get more used to it, as we get better, that's when we can add extra things. We can complicate it more. We can evolve it more. And some of those rotations the other night seem to suggest that, and moving the ball through the middle. So I think we're going in a good direction. We just, in an ideal world, would go in that direction a little bit quicker, I think. Alex, good morning to you, my man. How are you? How's life? I think Yoro and Dorgu will have a massive season. I think the Dorgu's best performance so far came when Dallo started left wing back the other day. That really proved that we need Dorgu in the team right now, because we just weren't the same without him. I'm a big fan of Dallo. I like him a lot. Perhaps not quite as much as Steve does, or perhaps in a different way. But Dorgu's just a different level on the left-hand side in terms of what he brings to the team. And yeah, I think we missed that the other night. Yeah, Onana from Villa, Steve, is definitely another one. Kone from Roma. Yes. 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 Kamara isn't a player I've seen as much, so I can't really speak on him. Stiller, I think, would be a nice option for us. Sort of in that Wharton category, just a little bit worse if you ask me, but a similar profile. I don't know if defensively he's quite what we need, though. That would be my concern in terms of physicality and things like that. AJ, isn't it weird that Amorim said how much he likes Mount and Xerxes as 10s, yet signed Cunha and Mbumo for the 10 positions? Yeah, I think I saw a really, really interesting point the other day. Because there's often this conversation, I think particularly when you've got a back three manager, and after things went wrong under Ten Hag and how he signed then. There's a conversation these days about should you sign for the manager and his system, or should you sign for the club and the team? Right? Should we be signing players for a 3-4-3, or should we be signing good footballers that can play for United for a long time? And someone made a really interesting point that our two best players last season were Bruno Fernandes and Ahmad, who are a 10, Bruno, and a right winger, Ahmad. If you look at what we've signed so far this summer, we've signed a 10 and a right winger. So we've actually signed depth in our two best positions technically last year. You know, I know Bruno's moved deeper and Ahmad might move deeper as well, but it is an interesting way of looking at things. It is an interesting way of looking at things. Importantly, I think they can also, though, play in other systems. I think they can do that. Depth and rotation exists. It's going to be really interesting to see sort of when we get to the season starting, like, or end of the transfer window, how big this squad is going to be. We know there's players we want to get rid of. We know there's players we want to bring in. I don't know how many players we're actually going to need because we don't have European football. We're missing out on so many matches next season. If we go out of the cups early, we could have like 42 games next year, which you really don't need that big a squad for. So it'll be interesting. We've got Grace again in the super chat with a chat. In the chat with a super chat. Grace, thank you very much again. Dallo is the best player in the world. Thank you for the super chat. I think respectfully, I'm going to have to disagree with the message, although Steve will agree with you 100%. I am a fan of Dallo, though. I think he's a very useful player for us. I think we're moving into a position now, or a situation now, where I think he's going to become more of a squad player than a starter. You know, in big games, I think he'll be our starting right wing back. First day of the season against Arsenal, I think he'll play. But I think as the season goes on, in April, I don't think Dallo will be starting a lot of matches. I don't think. Perhaps I'm off with that. Perhaps I'm wrong. Let me know what you think. But that's not a bad thing. That sort of quality, having a player who last season was a starter and this year is now squad depth, is a sign of progression in the squad. So it wouldn't be a bad thing at all. He's a competent right back, but doesn't offer enough as a right wing back. Yeah, as a right back, I think he's a serious player. I think he's very, very good. I think, again, going back to the back four briefly, if we had Mazraoui and Dallo as our right backs, like, wow, there's probably not anyone in the world with better depth in one position like that. But at wing back, yeah, neither of them quite fit properly. Amorim is really doing everything to keep Bruno in the team. It's like we're sacrificing everything just to keep him playing. Makes no sense if the team chemistry is wrong. It's weird. We feel, to me, when I'm watching these games, we feel really close to striking something really nice. I don't think we are miles off it at all. You know, I always say it's not as bad. It's never as bad as you think it is. It's never as good as you think it is. That's sort of my opinion on everything. I feel like we're close. I feel like we're close to having something really nice here. Just a couple of tweaks here and there. But at the same time, it sort of feels like we've got so many problems still to solve. How do you get Bruno in this team? Because if we just turned down 100 million for him, you've got to get him in the team, right? He's our captain. You've got to play him. Have you? But if so, where and how? And what does that mean for everyone else? If Bruno plays in the front three, what happens to Cunha and Mbumo and Ahmad? Especially when we're targeting a striker, which we seem to really be targeting. But if he plays in midfield, but he can't play with Mainu, so now we're blocking our best academy graduate. And we don't quite have the midfielder to work with Bruno. So we feel really close, but at the same time, we feel quite a distance away still. It's a tricky one for me. It's a tricky one. Mazraoui seems to get shuffled in the pecking order when he is consistently giving us a 7 out of 10 performance. Yeah, what's happened with him in preseason? I assume he's had a knock. I haven't actually seen that news, but I'm guessing he has because he's sort of disappeared a little bit. So I'm guessing he must have a fitness problem. Dalot is a right centre-back in his system. Yeah, I think with Dalot especially, we don't have to play him in one position and just keep him there. Especially if he's going to be a bench player next season, he's a left wing-back, he's a right wing-back, he's a right centre-back. Lovely. Having a squad player that can play 3 positions allows us to have an even smaller squad and save even more money. So, an Ineos dream, really. Dalot doesn't have the attacking menace. Yeah, I think that's fair. I think particularly if you play a defensive player on the other side as well, then I think it becomes a problem. Can Cunha play left wing? Yes, absolutely. AJ, that's where rotation comes in. Amorim never sticks with one lineup. Completely agree. Completely agree. We have to rotate. It's just they all want to play still though, right? And we don't have quite as much room for rotation this season because we're not in any competitions because we were shit last year. So we don't have quite as much room for rotation this year. We still need to do it. I don't know. It's going to become interesting. I think in 12 months we'll be talking about it. That's how I'll put it. I don't think it's going to be a problem straight away because we'll be sitting there like, wow, we've got Ahmad coming from the bench or Sesko off the bench or Højlund or, and Mbumo's coming off the bench in certain games. Whatever. Fantastic. I think in 12 months we'll be sitting and having a conversation going, I wonder what a pecking order is. I think we'll be having that. Zerg, good morning to you, my friend. How are you? Mazraoui has a knock, but he's training. At least he'll be back then. Does Mount have a place in the pivot? Yeah, I mentioned it earlier. You may not have been here at the time. I think he can do a job there. I don't think it's his long-term future because I think he leads so well from the front in the press. So I don't think he'll ever play deeper. Not consistently. Anyway. Oh yeah, by the way, guys, if you could please leave a like on the stream, that'd be amazing. Thank you very much. Also, if you want to subscribe if you're new here, that would be very kind of you as well. We've just set a goal of 75,000 subscribers, which is a joke of a number. Like, why is the number that high? But thanks to you guys, so we're trying to hit the next one. What does this mean for Mainu? Is he going to feature only at central midfield this season then? I think so, with what we've got ahead of him. But that does reduce his game time. It's tricky. And this is what I mean, right? We feel really close to hitting a nice balance. But at the same time, there are so many questions. So many questions that we need to answer. I think we might see Cunha at 9 a good bit too. Probably affected by whether we sign a striker and also what happens with Rasmus in that situation. I didn't like Cunha up front the other night. I was really looking forward to seeing it, that front three, because of the ability to get Mainu in midfield. I felt that it could be something good for us this season. Of course, it was the first time seeing it. It's not going to be perfect, and Mbumo's not sharp. Cunha's had some fitness problems, but it didn't feel quite right to me. I think the other night we did lack a striker, someone who wanted to play on the shoulder, get in behind, stretch the defence. I didn't feel that we did that as well in the last game, particularly without Dorgu in the team as well. That probably had an impact. I'm hoping on Saturday we're going to see Dorgu, Ahmad on the 2 wing-back positions. Let's say Mbumo, Cunha, Højlund. That's what I'd quite like to see this weekend. But then what do you do in midfield? Who knows? Just go for 75k members? Why not? Honestly, why not? What do you guys want to do with the rest of this stream, by the way? Because this stream is meant to be talking about transitions, and we've spent 25 minutes just having catch-up talk about United. Do you want to carry on with catch-up talk and just yarn about United, and we'll have a little waffle session and do transitions another day? Or do you want to switch to transitions now? I'm happy for either, because having a little waffle chat is quite fun, because there is a lot to talk about. There is a lot going on at United at the moment, so I'm happy for either. Højlund is still a better suited 9 than Cunha, theoretically. I agree. Højlund is... The idea of Højlund is a better number 9. I just liked the stream and it made my biceps swell. Is that normal? Well, let me try. Didn't work. But try it, guys. Catch up waffle? I'm so down for that. I love a little waffle about football. I do have some stats that we can go through in terms of transitioning numbers and things like that. But we can cover that another day if you like, because people do seem quite happy waffling at the moment. Okay, waffle seems to be the play. Waffle seems to be the play. A wine tasting stream, forget about football. I don't think I've ever had a glass of wine in my life. Maybe I have. I can't remember. General waffle we'll go for today. We're going to go for waffle. And then Friday we'll come back with the transitions, all right? So today's going to be a bit of a catch-up one. Steve has put a nice idea in a chat that I like. What would you guys like to see in terms of starting 11 for the last friendly on Saturday, I believe, right? Saturday afternoon. What do you want to see? What do you want to see in terms of the starting 11? How many minutes do you want to see given to certain players? What experiments do you want to see? Or perhaps you don't want to see any? What do you want to see this Saturday? And what are we trying to achieve in that game? That seems like a good conversation. Transitions on Friday. Yes, we will be back streaming Friday, 11 a.m. So same time as this stream. That's where we'll talk about the transitions and get back to some of the other tactical stuff. And then after that it's the build-up week for the start of the Premier League. That is insane. That is insane. Wow. There's not much time left. We need to make some signings. That'd be quite nice. Mbeumo would be better up front than Cunha, in my opinion. Cunha plays deep. I agree with the instinct idea. I think Cunha is a player who wants to come towards the ball, so playing him up front at times is a problem, unless you've got runners around him. My problem with if Mbeumo was to go up front, I think it then affects what we have in the 10 positions. I think if we... Where's my Mbeumo? Let me grab him. Not like that. Let's put Mbeumo up front, right? I think when he plays in this position, it forces Ahmad into the right 10, because every time... I've now lost Ahmad as well. He's up here with the wing-backs. Every time Ahmad starts in the right 10, Amorim nearly always makes the comment of, it's great to have a left footer there. So if Mbeumo doesn't play there, Ahmad has to. It's because I think he really likes that left footer. And I think the reason why he likes that is because what we've seen in pre-season is an ability to come inside the pitch so much more than what we had last year. There's been a lot of focus on central progression. I still want to do a video on that at some point, so keep your eyes out for that. We're trying to move the ball centrally. Having that left footer who wants to spin inside helps us. What we had at times last season was we'd move the ball down the side with the right wing back. Let's chuck Ahmad out of there. We'd go into the right 10, and what we would always do is spin wide. We would always spin wide where it's a little bit easier, a little bit safer. What we've seen this pre-season so far is more of a tendency to spin in, and that just opens everything up for us. It doesn't trap us to one side. It allows us to play centrally if we want to, but also actually to use the overload on the other side. I think a heavy feature of pre-season so far has been finding the 10 on the far side of the pitch. So if I get these geezers out of it, there's been a big emphasis on ball down this side. Can we progress over here? Can we draw the opposition onto us? And we're trying to find that space here with the left forward. We seem to be doing a lot of work like that. And of course, vice versa. Left-hand side, draw the opposition over, and we're trying to find our right forward. That's something United are trying to do a lot. And I think having that Ahmad or Mbeumo in there certainly helps us. I think I want Heaton to start versus Arsenal. Unironically, is Tom Heaton our best goalkeeper? Like, actually, he might be. Like, genuinely, he might be right now, which is an interesting situation. He's always been a good goalkeeper, a good professional. Actually, a seriously good player. Probably 8 years ago, there was a really good goalkeeper there. Doesn't say much for Onana, though, does it? Or Bayindir. So much better at finding the second pass so far this season. I think when we look sharp, I think when we look quick, it's really good. I think some of the combination play has been amazing. The Bournemouth game. Some of the play in that first 25 minutes especially was so crisp. Like, I couldn't believe what I was watching. The sharpness of the United play was fantastic. And that was without Cunha and Mbeumo in that game. So quick. They were so good, the way that they popped it about. That was really fun to see. Really fun to see. Bring Mateta and focus on central midfield. Definitely an option. Do we know what Mateta would cost? I still think Watkins is an option, although Villa seem a little bit difficult to negotiate with right now. Dorgu left wing back and Mbeumo right wing back. Cunha and Bruno at the 10s. Mainu and Ugarte in the midfield. Who would be your ideal striker in that setup, my friend? Who would you go for? Would you go for Højlund, Xerxes, or someone new perhaps? AJ, you know how historically the left half space was where United attacked via Bruno? Do you think Mbeumo and Ahmad changes that And also, if Cunha plays left 10, surely Dorgu needs to be overlapping. Yes, this is my question with Amorim, with Bruno, with does it make sense? Are we forcing it? All of that stuff. And are we adapting to our players? Bruno Fernandes is the best player at this football club, right? He's one of the best players in the Premier League. He's one of the best players in the world. He's one of the best creative midfielders we've ever seen. We're no longer playing him in his best position, right? If you remove formation for a second, ignore 3-4-3, ignore 4-2-3-1, ignore, I don't care what the formation is, ignore it. Picture areas of the football pitch, zones of the football pitch. We all feel that Bruno Fernandes, if I can find my man up here, is best in this zone. This is where you want Bruno. Ignore the formation. It doesn't matter how he gets here. This is where we like to see Bruno. Sometimes dropping deep, of course, he always wants to do that. But he does his dangerous work here as well, but specifically towards the left-hand side. This is the area where you want to get Bruno. Right now, we're not getting him there really often enough. Are we getting the most out of Bruno? Are we getting the best out of Bruno? I'm not sure. And if we're not, then what we're replacing him with has to be good, right? Like you said, the Dorgu Cunha dynamic has to be good. And I think it can be. I think it can be. The right side, I'm a little bit uncertain still. I love the idea of Mbeumo and Ahmad. I said as an idea, how that could work, the potential there. Mbeumo and Ahmad, two of the most dangerous right wingers in the Premier League, playing on the same side as each other, terrorising fullbacks. Sounds amazing. Is it going to play out like that? I'm not too sure. The left side, I'm actually quite confident of. I quite like the left side of the pitch. I like Dorgu Cunha link up. I'm always a little bit disappointed when you don't have a proper winger on a side of the pitch, and Dorgu's not a winger, and I don't feel that Cunha is either. So, I like wingers. I think they're great. I like wingers. So we don't have that on the left, but I do think the link up will be good there. I think those two are actually going to sort of get quite a nice understanding. So I'm looking forward to that. The right side, I have a few more questions. I do have a few more questions there. Bruno has no positional discipline. I think that's some of the other reason why we like to see him high, right? Because high players tend to be given more license to roam. When you're dropping deeper, it becomes a problem. I think off the ball, it's a bit of a problem as well. Bruno is one of the best progressive passers in the world. We need that from deeper. I think that's what it is. I think you've actually made a comment there which sums it up really nicely. Really, really nicely. Bruno is one of the best progressive passers in the world. We need that deeper. He is one of the best progressive passers in the world. I agree. We need that deeper. That's the problem. That's the problem. Bruno is forced to play deeper because we need him deeper because we do not have another solution deeper. If Bruno Fernandes played for Manchester City, he wouldn't play deep because they don't need him there. They've got the progressive passers, whether that's the centre-backs like John Stones or the midfielders like Rodri and Bernardo Silva. They wouldn't need him there. That's the problem. We need him there. That's why we need recruitment in midfield. So we don't have to throw players into a new position purely because we need it. That's the ideal situation, that we have players who are best there rather than we need them to do a job there. And, that does bring us back to that weird question with Bruno. It is a tricky one. It's a tricky one. We've decided to keep him, which I agree with. I do still agree with that. But actually then practically getting him into the team, it's difficult. It is challenging. It's a weird situation. It's a weird situation. Do you think Mbeumo and Ahmad will be the Garnacho and Dorgu 2.0? I mean, both Mbeumo and Garnacho have the instinct to move wide, which creates problems to the wing-back. Oh, okay, I see what you're saying. So you're not saying they're the same sort of player, but you're saying they both like to move wide before then coming in. I think that's a reasonable point. Yeah, does that block the wing-back? I think it's okay as long as they know they're doing it, if you know what I mean. I think if Dorgu was stood at left wing-back and the left 10 started coming out here, it'd be a problem. But I think Dorgu likes to come in. I think Dorgu likes to drift. And on the right-hand side, yeah, Mbeumo might pop wide, but I think Ahmad likes to drift. So I think it'll be okay. I just think it's going to take a lot of time for it to work properly. It's not going to happen overnight. There's going to be moments where we have both of them inside and then moments where we have both of them out wide, and it's not quite right. Actually getting the timings and everything is going to take some time. So potentially early on there's a problem there, and yeah, it's a concern I have down this right-hand side, absolutely. Assuming we don't get striker, we'd play Mbumo in the 9, Ahmad in the 10, Dallo at wing back. I think that would be the natural solution. But then we have Dallo and Dorgu at wing back. And last season that was a problem, having 2 fullbacks. You know, I was quite critical of it. I think everyone was. It's weird. It's weird. That's also why we need a backup for Bruno with a similar skill set. We need a midfielder that just passes the ball. Like, I think every good football team ever that I've watched has a good passer somewhere relatively deep. And I don't just mean someone that can play a pass, someone that wants to play a lot of passes. We haven't had that for so long. So long. The difference is Dorgu likes to play out wide more, and Ahmad prefers to play inside, unlike Garnacho. I think Dorgu can come in. I think he can move inside. I think Dorgu's a bit more versatile than what we give him credit for at times. I think his carrying in particular, Dorgu, he's a good ball carrier, but it doesn't tend to come out wide. His carrying does sort of have this sort of diagonal inwards feel to it. Is that going to allow Cunha to spin wide? Bruno's been quite involved in that as well on the left, sort of drifting over there and making the overload. 100% agree, AJ, but this was never a one-window rebuild. 100%. I am amazed at the business we've done, given the finances. We have to be patient. I agree. How do I word this? I always thought we could spend this amount of money. The money we've spent so far, I felt that we could spend it. I thought the approach, though, was going to be to spend, what is it, around 120 million, whatever it is. I thought the approach was going to be to spend that across 3 or 4 players rather than 2. So we've taken a different approach to what I was expecting. I was almost expecting sort of like we build the whole squad up with a load of £40 million signings rather than going on 2 big marquee signings. It's a different approach to what I was expecting. But yeah, if we end up with Cunha and Mbumo, others out of it, then it's worked well. We've got another super chat in the chat. Super chat in the chat just feels weird to say. Newcastle with the best midfield in the Premier League struggled against Arsenal in a 3-4-3 last season at the Emirates. Do you think Amorim will succeed? First of all, big ball knowledge to anyone that says Newcastle have the best midfield. I love their midfield. I love the balance that they struck last year. And like you said, they did struggle in a 3-4-3. Do I think Amorim will succeed? First of all, thank you very much for the super chat. Do I think Amorim will succeed? I said this to someone the other day. I think Amorim off the pitch has everything. Absolutely everything to succeed. I think the way he's sort of driving the standards at the club, I think is important. What he prioritises in terms of the physicality, the intensity of the team. He's quickly recognised what you need to succeed in the Premier League. That's great. Some managers take 3 years before they realise that. Ten Hag never really upped the intensity and the physicality of this squad. Amorim's doing it in his first window and in his first summer in terms of the preseason training and the time. Off the pitch, I love Amorim. I love everything about him. I think he's a good person. I think he has the leadership qualities to take us to the top. I absolutely do. Tactically, not right now. Tactically, I think he has to do something a little bit different. He might do that. He might do that. Pep, for example, came into the Premier League and realised he kept his ideas, principles, fine, but something's going to have to change a little bit. Hopefully Amorim has that at some point. We are evolving already. We have already seen that in preseason. We are making changes. We're not stuck right now. So hopefully it happens. Hopefully it happens. We've got Alex with another super chat as well. Alex, thank you very much. Versus Everton, the central midfielders were outnumbered in the middle. How do United stop that versus Rice, Odegaard and Zubimendi? Seems to be a structural issue with only 2 central midfielders. Yes, it does. I think Bruno was a problem against Everton defensively. Because what we were often doing defensively... Thank you very much for the super chat, by the way. Let me take Bruno out and talk about it profile-wise. So what we were doing was we were going, particularly as we dropped deeper, we went to more of like a 5-3-2, I felt. So what we saw was Bruno defensively would sort of... He was the left 10. He'd sort of tuck in here. Last season, it was more like this shape, right? This is the shape that we saw last season defensively when we were sort of in that mid block, about to go low block. This was the shape that we saw last season. What we saw in this game a little bit more was Bruno rotating in here, which obviously gives us that extra body midfield, which I like. And then we had the front 2. Now, these two aren't strikers, right? They can both do a job there, but they're not a front two. But I think in terms of transitional threat, they certainly give us something. We've now got 3 central midfielders. As an idea, I think this works. It's a little bit passive, a little bit defensive. Conversation for another day. But I think this worked, the idea that we were trying the other day. The problem we had, and I don't know if this was poor instructions or Bruno going walkies a little bit, wandering out of position. The problem was he kept engaging on a ball up here. So he would sort of drop into this 5-3-2. And then if the ball went across to the right back and Cunha didn't go, Bruno would go over there, and it just left so much room out wide for Everton to now explore. If there was, let's say there's a winger pinning, who was it? Dalot, back here. Everton had so much space out wide, so much space, and there's a real problem in this game. And I talk all the time about United not sustaining control on games, having moments where we look great, but off the ball being easy to progress the ball 60 yards, and that makes it difficult to control a match. We've still got that problem, particularly out wide. It's very, very easy against United to find sort of this space over here and this space over here. It's a bit too easy. But I guess the positive spin on that was it was Amorim trying another different idea. We've complained that he's too stubborn, he goes with the same thing too much, he's too rigid, whatever. This was another different idea. In that game, we didn't really off the ball see the 3-4-3. It was a 4-4-2 turned 5-3-2 with a jumping Bruno. What a weird tactical system. But it was different again. So in terms of asking for change, we sort of in a way can't complain too much. Higher up the pitch, also 4-4-2. Yeah. That's just Bruno being Bruno? Yeah, maybe. Maybe. It's difficult to know. He does lack intelligence with pressing, Bruno. Energy-wise, work rate, everything, amazing. Amazing. One of the best. If this guy was more disciplined with pressing, he'd probably be the best presser in the world. Because energy-wise, intensity, relentlessness, he's great at it. But he's not intelligent with the way that he presses. He gets a bit carried away. He gets out towards the ball too much. Dalot has been bad too, though. I wouldn't say outright bad, but I would say he's not had a great preseason. Was Bruno engaging because Dalot was passive? I think it was a moment where Amorim wanted us to be more passive. I don't think Amorim wanted pressure on the ball in that moment. I think Bruno was going too early. I think he was jumping at the wrong time. Because, if Dalot gets pinned by a winger out here, and this player drops here, the centre-back at the moment don't seem too keen on jumping to that. We're not seeing a lot of that in the mid-block. So that means Bruno should be containing rather than jumping, I think. So I think it's Bruno getting it wrong. I may be wrong, though, because obviously I don't know the instructions. But I think it's Bruno not getting the jump right. Is Mount a more disciplined version of Bruno? Defensively, I think he's a more intelligent version. Bruno lacks tactical discipline because of a hero mentality that everyone enables. The thing is, we can all assume that. I've just made an assumption that he was jumping at the wrong time. There is every chance he is being told, in possession, you've got freedom. Go explore. There's a chance he was told the other night, you're the trigger to the press. When the ball goes to the right back, you're meant to jump and everyone else should follow. Maybe he was doing the right thing and the rest were meant to follow but didn't. We don't know because we don't hear the instructions. So it is a bit of an assumption. Bruno gets frustrated out of possession. I love Bruno, but sometimes self-control button gets stuck. Yeah, I don't know why he was just taking swipes out of... Who was it? Was it Njai? I can't remember, but I don't know what that was all about. I think for our game against Arsenal, we need to start with defensive-minded players, and then around the 70th minute, we put the likes of Ahmad and the fast runners when the Arsenal team is tired. Yeah, I think Dalot will start that first game of the season at right wing back. I even wonder if Mount might. I wonder if Mount might start in the left 10. Anyway, what I want to do to finish off this waffle session is go back to what I mentioned earlier. Give me your starting 11 for this weekend. So the last preseason game, Fiorentina at Old Trafford. Finally, a David De Gea send-off, perhaps. Give me your team that you would like to see. And also, your subs that you want to see. I would guess around the 60th is when we'll change. What do you want to see from this game? Tom Heaton in goal, probably. I think it's... Tom Heaton in goal. That elbow on Heaven was shocking. There's been some challenges this preseason, not just in United's games, but in other games as well that I've seen. It's been a bit feisty. Been a bit feisty. Let's have a look. Because what I would say is this last game of preseason is one final opportunity to up the fitness levels. And Mbeumo in particular only played 45 minutes all summer. He needs another game. Of course he does. So this is a chance to get fitness levels improved, but also to actually go, okay, this is a bit closer now to what I want my starting 11 to be. Not necessarily guaranteeing that this team is the same team that starts Arsenal, because something might happen in this game which changes our ideas. But I don't think in preseason yet we've seen our strongest 11, partly because Mbeumo haven't been available. So this is a chance to get close to what Amorim feels is his strongest right now. And I'm interested to hear how that looks to you guys. I would go Heaton in goal just because I just don't like Bayende. No offence to the guy. I don't like him. I'd get Tom Heaton in goal for this game. I think Onana might start Arsenal. I think he'll be back and go straight into the team probably. But I don't know. Everyone's going to say Yoro. Everyone's going to say Yoro, right? Rightly so. Yoro in that defence somewhere. Oh, not everyone says Yoro. Alex says Heaton, Heaven, De Ligt, Fredrickson. I don't think I've got Fredrickson written down. I need to add him. Diego Leon, Bruno, Ugarte, Ahmad, Mbeumo, Cunha, and Højlund. A mixture of starters for Arsenal and others needing minutes. I like it. I like that front three especially. Mbeumo, Cunha, Højlund, I think is probably our best front three. People will say Xerxes. I just think Højlund complements the other two a bit more. Even though I think Xerxes can have a lot of success, and I'm hoping for a big season from him. Steve says Heaton. The chat's moving too quick. Heaton, Yoro, De Ligt, Dalot. Wanting to see a Dalot experiment. I like it. Ahmad and Dorgu as the wing backs. Bruno and Ugarte in midfield. And Mbeumo, Cunha, Højlund up top. We got Heaton, De Ligt, Yoro, Shaw, which I think it will be that. Mainu, Ugarte, Ahmad, Dorgu, and Mbeumo, Cunha, Højlund. I'm thinking. Right, keep getting your ideas in the chat. I think. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. First of all, right, I'm going to give you, if I was a betting man, I'm going to give you what I think the first 11 of the season is going to be. Right, when we play Arsenal, is that Old Trafford the first game or is it Emirates? I don't actually know. Where's Dorgu? Here he is. He is what I think will be the first starting 11 of the season for United. From that, we can sort of work backwards and figure out what that means or who should start there for this weekend. Højlund, Cunha, Mbeumo, Bruno. Who do I think will play next to Bruno? Will it be Ugarte or Casemiro? I think he might go Casemiro. So that's what I think. If I had to guess right now. Oh, probably Onana. But he's injured. I think this might be the starting 11 for the game against Arsenal. In, what's that? 12 days? 10 days? Something like that. 10 days away. I think it will be a team that looks a little bit like this. So therefore, if we sort of reverse engineer it, who should start this weekend? Sort of based on that. Which of these need a bit of protection for that game? Who needs to start gelling with each other? What do we think? That's so rough. It's just what I think the team will be. Honestly, if I'm, like I said, if I had to place a bet on the 11 for that game, it would look like this. It is harsh on Ahmad. It is. I think if we were playing Sunderland, let's say first day of the season, then Ahmad plays right wing back. I think for this game, Arsenal, that is, I think we'll see Dalot just for that extra bit of security, that extra defender. And I think what we'll do is, in terms of pressing, I think we'll go like that. Dorgu would go onto the side of midfield and would do something like that. I could also see Mount playing over Cunha. I honestly could. I'm going to the Fiorentina game with my family. He really wants to see Mbeumo and Cunha start. I enjoy the game, mate. And imagine they get their first goal as well. It'd be beautiful, wouldn't it? Beautiful. Front three needs gelling, and Casemiro and Shaw would need protection. I like that. You really like Dalot? I do. This isn't my starting 11 for the game. This is what I think Amorim will do for Arsenal. This is not my 11. This is not what I would choose necessarily. This is what I think right now, if I had to guess, this is what I think Amorim will do. And I genuinely think, because of who we're playing that first game, I think there is a shout for Mount over Cunha. Mbumo might not be fully ready, so he could get Ahmad right 10. Yeah, that's a very good point, actually. Very good point. At which point, it wouldn't be Mount, right? Surely we won't go with last year's 11. Ahmad on the bench is crazy. Again, it's just what I think he might do. You know what, actually, with what you've said in chat there, in terms of fitness, I could see this being our starting 11 for the game as well against Arsenal. I could see that. In terms of what I want to see this weekend, it's different. What I'd like to see this weekend is that sort of front five with the wing-backs and the front three. Protecting Shaw is probably a good idea. I'd maybe still give him 45, but I'd like to see Heaven given more game time, even though I can't. Where on earth is Heaven? Where's Heaven? He's here somewhere. I saw him earlier. Have I got rid of Heaven? Well, sorry, Watkins, mate, you're going. We're bringing Heaven into the team. My keyboard is miles away, by the way, because if not, my mic's in the way. I think we might see this team this weekend. I think Maguire might play because he's not had that much of a run in the team yet in pre-season. I think we might see this weekend. People need to understand certain players need match fitness. Exactly. Mbumo and Mazraoui if he's fit. Yes. And others need to be protected. Yes. Yes. Sure, if we are genuinely intending to play him in the first game, which I think we are right now, I think Amorim wants to play him right now, you probably need to protect him because he's a walking injury, right? And Bruno needs minutes. Cunha will be an interesting one because obviously we know that he's been left out of a game already because of fitness problems. No, I think he plays. He needs time in the team. I think Heaven and possibly Fredrickson will get more game time than people think this season, especially before Lich comes back. I'm not banking on Shaw being available. Yeah, I think so. I think especially Heaven has got a really good opportunity to get some minutes. I like the idea of being able to sub Dallo, so Ahmad goes wide and Mbumo gets in at the 10. Similar to the traditional Bruno deeper sub. Yeah, again, especially looking ahead to that Arsenal game. First game of the season. I definitely think we could see that sort of change. Depending on the game state as well, right? Are we 1 up? Are we 1 down? Are we 2 up, 2 down? Is it level? All those things. Kone would be a fun one to see against Fiorentina. I think particularly at Old Trafford, that would be nice to get him on the pitch. Mantato as well. Alex, I agree. At Old Trafford, it's a nice opportunity to get academy players in, and I think we should try and do that where possible. But in the case of Kone, he's obviously not in the starting. You know, he's not classed as a first teamer this season, I wouldn't have thought. So I think Amorim will prioritise the core team. Mbumo in 9, Cunha and Mount in the 10s. I just think Amorim likes that left footer in the right 10. I think he really likes it. So I think it'll be between these two for as much of the season as possible, unless we get forced to do something different with injuries. Lissandro is forgotten often, but he'll be important to Amorim in my opinion. Yeah, I think he will be. Obviously, right now he's not because he's out injured, but yeah, I think he's a key player. He was labelled as part of that sort of leadership group the other day, wasn't he? So I think he's valued highly. Even the fact that we take an injured player like Licha to so many different games, that kind of alone points to what he is for the dressing room and this squad. So I have a feeling we'll go on to lose the first game, but go on to win the league. I've been shouted at recently for saying that I think United have got a 3% chance of winning the Premier League, and I'm holding on to that 3% chance. I believe. AJ, could Fredrickson play central centre-back? He is quite decent on the ball, and that inverted centre-back might actually work better with him in possession than with De Ligt and Maguire. Perhaps worth a try. I quite like Fredrickson. I don't know that he's ever going to be a regular Manchester United centre-back, to be honest. I don't think we'll ever see him consistently in the team. But as a squad player for the next couple of seasons, I think he's quite useful to us. I do think he's quite useful, and I think he can play in the middle. I don't know that he necessarily helps too much with that centre-back into midfield. Possibly. Although still, we tend to avoid it, right? We tend to push that centre-back in there and then not use them, so it's a weird one. Defensively, I think he's got some of the traits. The box defence would probably be the area he'd need to develop, but He does seem like a composed player, Fredrickson. It doesn't seem like too much fusses him or bothers him, really, which I think is a good thing for that role. Dallo is in the leadership group too. I'm not going to read the rest of that message. Yeah, again, I think Dallo is one of those players who, as fans, probably gets a little bit underappreciated. But I think managers, coaches will always like him. And I think that says a lot about his personality as much as anything else. It's actually quite refreshing to see options from the academy to cover at centre-back. I think it's great to have. I think it's great. Especially if we can trim the squad a little bit this season, this summer. If we can get rid of get some players out. And like I said earlier, let's say we have 2 players covering each position, then that third one who can cover a few. If that third spot can be covered by some of our academy players, then I think that's great. I think that's great. I think that's what we want to see. This is our strongest team. Why did I read that? It's in all capitals. Guys, please no messages in all capitals. Ugh, I fumbled. I'm a fraud. If Fredrickson can develop his box defence, then he can be a decent squad option. Take Lindelof. Yeah, exactly. It's exactly that, right? With the less games, we don't need the Lindelofs and the Johnny Evans. That's where it can be the youngsters. Yeah, spot on. Exactly that. Who do I prefer, De Ligt or Maguire? I've always got a soft spot for Maguire. Who do I think is better for this system? I actually don't know. When Amorim first came in, I felt Maguire was the better player for the central centre-back role. At the moment, I don't know. I think they're both a little bit too aggressive off the ball to actually be ideal. Lol, sorry, this is our strongest team. Yeah, that's better. How about a surprise from Amorim? 3 midfielders, Ugarte plus Casemiro. If we're willing to play more defensively. Sorry, I'm not quite understanding the message. I'm a sleepy man. I do apologise. I think the wide centre-backs need to be given some grace. They'll be asked to play a lot of the ball, and it will take time to get used to. Yeah, Yoro is in for a big year, right? He's got to step up. I think he will, because I think he's just amazing. What a player. But he is still young. Only his second season in English football. Last year he had a big injury as well. There's going to be pressure on him, because we all know how good he is, right? He knows how good he is, I'd imagine. So there is going to be a lot of pressure on him. I think it will also be important at times to take him out of the team and not play him every week, because it's risky playing players every week. Was it Varane last season who made that sort of comment where he said if Yoro went, or a 19-year-old centre-back went to Madrid, you get eased into your first couple of seasons, whereas a 19-year-old centre-back at United, you're the main man. It's going to take a little bit of time, but I think he's a special player. Special player. Long-term AJ, who is your ideal midfield 2? Well, it requires at least one signing. See, this is where I don't like to get too focused on formation, right? I don't like to focus on it too much. But this is where this formation annoys me. Because we talk about ideal teams, and for me personally, how I see football, how I want my team to play football, whatever, I'll never pick a midfield 2. I just won't ever do it. I will always pick a midfield 3. Because that's my preference. So it is difficult. Everton are going in for Dibbling at 40 million. Should we hijack that? I said, weren't we told we'd get one leg for 40 million? Is that what we were told? If we didn't have what we already have, I would be looking at that 100%. I think it'd been a really nice option down this side. I just think, again, with what we've got, we probably have to go elsewhere first, other positions. We have to get Mainu into this side in the next season or 2. Yeah, if Kobbie Mainu doesn't become an incredible footballer, something's gone wrong. Simple as that, because he is phenomenal. He is very unique, very, very unique. And managers, coaches, football clubs cry out for unique talent, especially coming through the academy. The world of football hunts it, craves it, and we've got it. It's going to take some time. There are parts of his game he needs to work on. Importantly, he is still young. And I know some people will go, but Pedri's young, and he's the main man at Barcelona. Right? He's young, he can do it. Why can't Kobbie? But not everyone develops at the same rate, at the same time. Ousmane Dembele, right? Coming into his prime at 26, which is great to see. It's like a footballer having his prime at the right time is quite fun. Kobbie doesn't have to be the solution right now, but he does need game time. He does need coaching. He needs to play in a team that suits him. Of course he does. So if Kobbie doesn't start 38 Premier League games this season, I'm not going to get mad at it, okay? It's not a problem. But I still think he should be playing a healthy chunk because I think he's good enough to. And we can't block him for the sake of a 3-4-3 system because he should outlive this system in terms of, in an ideal world, he's at this football club for the next 10, 15 years. Amorim probably won't be just because managers don't last that long anymore. So we've got to be careful. We have got to be careful. He has to use his technical ability to play like Declan Rice. Who was that? Sorry, is that on Kobbie or someone else? I think Mainu will get plenty of game time. I actually don't want him to have to play every game and carry the club. Yeah, that first season, we did rely on him too much. We absolutely relied on him too much. Last season, it probably went the other way a little bit too much. This season, I want to strike that balance. Look at what happened to Rashford and even Garnacho. Yeah, again, like Ousmane Dembele burst onto the scene, was given all the hype in the world, future Ballon d'Or winner, and then went quite quiet for 4 years. Now coming back into it. Players develop at different times. Bruno Fernandes, how old's Kobbie? Is he 19, 20, 21, something like that? Whatever he is. Bruno Fernandes wasn't starting for Manchester United week in, week out at that age. You know, players develop at different rates. At 26, I want Kobbie to be a world beater. I think he can get there sooner. But as long as he becomes that world beater, lovely, lovely. Wharton signed a contract until 2029, and Balaba's also got a new contract. Would cost close to, if not more than 100 million. Yeah. There would be a lot. Can you imagine those two as a duo? That'd be a nice midfield too. AJ, do you think we're better with or without Bruno? Be real. Manchester United Football Club is better with Bruno because he's the best player at the club. The 3-4-3 is a little bit more tricky. It's a little bit more tricky. AJ, where do you think we'd finish this season if no more signings come in? I think we'll finish 8th in my opinion, but 5th is possible. I made a claim at the end of last season that Manchester United should be targeting top 5 this year. You go and sign Cunha and Mbeumo, that becomes the minimum. You sign 2 of the best forwards in the Premier League. You know, the predictions have to go up. We finished 15th last year, but we know we don't have the 15th best squad in the league. If anyone thinks that, it's pure rubbish. Categorically, we do not have the 15th best team in the league. We've got Bruno Fernandes. We've got Lenny Yoro, one of the most exciting young players in the world. We've got Ahmad. These are quality footballers. There's quality footballers throughout the squad. Harry Maguire has gone to multiple international finals. These are good players we've got. We've added Cunha and Mbeumo, 2 of the best players in the league. It's a very good squad, but it's not a complete squad. I would say target top 5. That's the target. I think we'll fall and actually achieve 6th, 7th, 6th, 7th, somewhere around there. I think the lack of Europe will boost where we're lacking a little bit. But the target has to be top 5. That's the bare minimum target with what we've got. But I think we'll fall just below it. That's sort of my expectation for this season. What we are going to do before the season starts, so not next week's, no, maybe next week's stream. Next week's stream. That's crazy. We're going to do a full stream on predictions on Manchester United. We might do a full Premier League table prediction as well, just for a bit of fun. But what we're also going to do is some hot takes. So maybe you guys want to start thinking of them. Sorry about that. Thinking of hot takes for Man United next season, but also maybe some other teams as well for a bit of fun. Sort of predictions that you've got that are a little bit rogue. Not run-of-the-mill predictions. Something a little bit rogue. You're out of the box thinking. We're going to do a full stream looking at all of that. We are expected to win every game regardless. Yeah. I think if it's current squad, then top 10. Finish or target. If they get a central midfielder who can connect the phases and provide some progressive passing under pressure, then top 8. I would say if this team doesn't finish top 8, we've failed. And I would, crazy statement, sack Amorim. Because I think that team is better than 12 Premier League squads. I do, genuinely. Like, Chelsea have obviously got some great players. But I still think there's areas where we're a little bit better. They've obviously got areas where they're better as well. I only see Liverpool, City, Arsenal, and Newcastle ahead of us. Yeah, it's what it is there's the teams that are clearly better, right? We know who they are. Then there's those teams who we should be mixing with. We should be mixing with the Spurs. Maybe Chelsea fall into that. Maybe Newcastle fall into that. Maybe Villa fall into that. Where they've got weaknesses, but they've also got strengths. They're good teams. That's where we should be falling around those guys. We should be falling around those guys with any of those teams capable of a dark horse push. I truly believe that. If we don't sign a keeper, you could throw a dart blindfolded at where we will finish. Valid. You think Newcastle are better than Chelsea? I don't know that individually Newcastle are better than Chelsea, but what they've got is the longevity, Newcastle, in terms of they know what they're doing. With Maresca at Chelsea, it still feels like they're figuring things out a little bit. They're making progress there, but they're figuring things out. The squad is always a mess because they sign 93 players, I think it is, every summer. And those players are trying to understand and gel with each other. Newcastle, we've got that base already. Newcastle know what they're doing. They need some new players still, Newcastle. They need to freshen it up. You know, you need that every summer, new faces coming in. So they need signings, and they're having a bad window. But Newcastle are very, very, very impressive. Spurs have a better squad. The Spurs squad is one of my favourite squads in the Premier League, especially if they'd signed Gibbs White. I'm a big fan of Basuma, even though I think there's better out there. Big fan of him. I think Bergvall in midfield is amazing. One of my favourite players in the league. Sarr is quality. Kudus is one of my favourite players in the league. Solanke is one of my favourite strikers. If I'd got Gibbs White as well, I love him. I like the Spurs team. But. We should be competing with them. They might have a better squad. But, you know, we once saw Leicester City win the Premier League. Did they have the best squad in the Premier League that season? No. You can finish ahead of teams that have better squads than you. The point is, we should be around them. We should absolutely be around them. Spurs, there is no excuse for Spurs to be 10 points ahead of us. Or Chelsea to be 15 points ahead of us. None of those teams, there shouldn't be that gap. Like, there can't be that gap. We have to be in those conversations at the end of the season. If not, we have categorically failed. We have. Like, the gap has to be closed, and we should be competing with them. Maybe we still finish 8th. Maybe we finish 8th, and those teams that we think are better than us turn out to be better than us. But we should be in the conversations at least. We should be up there. It shouldn't be we get to March and we're sitting in 12th. Like, what's the point? We should be in the conversations with the good teams, even if in May we just fall off. We should be there. I genuinely believe that. I'm sorry, I don't mean to sound negative. It's just that it's obvious the players we need aren't being brought in. Who knows? Who knows? They did have the best midfielder of the generation, though, in Kante. I mean, Bruno Fernandes isn't bad at football. You know, this squad... Come on. We've got a good squad here. We've got a good squad here. By the way, I don't think we'll finish top 5, but we've got to be in the conversation. We do. Manchester... I don't want to sound like Standards FC or whatever. Manchester United cannot not even be close to the conversation 2 years in a row. Like, if that's the case, the manager involved in that has to be gone. Unfortunately. Like, there's no dressing that up. There's a problem there. We've got good footballers. We need more. We need more good footballers. But we have got good footballers. So, I don't think there's an excuse. You know, if we don't finish top 5, I'm not going to start throwing punches and, you know, biting Amorim, because he's too beautiful for that. But we've got to be up there. We've got to be up there. We've got to be up there close. You know, another season in the bottom 10, write it off. Like, start again. Just delete the club. We can't be there again. We can't be down there again. I think Newcastle, Villa, Brighton, Forest and Spurs would all fight with us. Yeah, perfect. Fight. That's what it should be. We should be fighting for places. Our season was finished in February this year. Season before that, it was finished quite early. We should be fighting teams. We should be fighting. They might be better than us. But we should be fighting them. Forest will be a really interesting one because they did overperform so much last season. Will they go that standard again? Probably not. I would expect Forest to pull away a little bit, to fall off a little bit. I think Brighton will come up a little bit. I think the lack of European football, I believe, will help them. I think Spurs will come up. Newcastle, Villa, yeah, they're the teams we should be battling. Newcastle, Villa, Spurs, Brighton, United should be fighting for 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, those spots. That's where we should be. I have to start the season with a dream and slowly get beaten into reality. I'm telling you, 3% chance Manchester United win the Premier League. Delulu is the Salulu. The 2 times Amorim had a week to prepare for a game were 2 of his best performances, so I can only assume we're going invincible. Right. United are finishing between 10th and 5th. Reasonable. If we go for a dream run, we could force a top 5 finish, but realistically, 8th is probable. We've also seen so many times teams struggling, falling out of Europe and having a season without Europe and then climbing. Or teams doing the opposite, having a great year and then getting absolutely ruined when they go into Europe because there's too many games. This will be good. How do you see the top 5 without a midfield or a striker, though? Please give me your reasoning. Again, that's a target, not prediction. It's a target. Difference. If I was in the boardroom, I would be saying to Amorim, we've got to target top 5 this year. I don't think we'll quite get there. I think we'll fall just below it. Didn't realise you do live streams. Love your content, man. Thank you very much. And also welcome to a live stream, I'm assuming, for the first time. Good to have you here. We got another super chat in the chat. Thank you very, very much, my friend, saying, let's assume we buy a top goalkeeper, midfielder and striker. Are our problems solved? Can we discuss this in an analytical manner? I would love to discuss it in an analytical manner. But first of all, thank you very much for the super chat. Very, very kind of you. Are our problems solved? No. No. Our problems are much closer to being solved, though. In terms of the squad, obviously it's difficult to label what's a top goalkeeper, a top midfielder, a top striker. But let's say we bring those things in. We sign good players in those positions. Our squad's close. Our squad is close to being in a very nice place. We'd still need a bit more next summer. You know, a little bit of depth in a centre-back position next year. Next year, we're probably going to need a wing-back. But we would certainly be taking massive steps forward. What I would say is that the problems won't be completely solved still, because some of our problems are also tactical. You know, there are individual issues that those signings would address, but I think some of it is still tactical. At times, we are still too passive. A new signing doesn't necessarily change that. So those 3 signings, like you've suggested in the super chat, again, thank you, solve a lot of our problems in terms of the squad, but not necessarily the tactical. Maybe the tactical changes with squad changes. If Amorim had a more athletic midfielder, maybe he goes more aggressive in the press. Start seeing stuff like that, then yeah, maybe it does solve everything. Who knows? We don't know. It's hypothetical at that point. But yeah, it would be a big... Can we afford to do that? I don't know. But it would take us a long way. Thoughts on a 4-4-2 with an inverted fullback becoming a 3-2-3-2 in possession? Bruno Mainu midfield with Bruno pushing up to the 10 in possession. Cunha left wing, Ahmed right wing, and Bumo right forward. Højlund striker left forward. I like that. I like that a lot. I like it. You need good players and a system that works. We almost have both sorted, but not quite solved either. Yeah. Bosh. One more summer until most of the issues are solved, signing-wise. Tactically, let's hope it gels. Bosh. Yeah, I agree with that. Next year, it depends what we finish with this summer, right? Let's say we sign a striker and a midfielder. Next year, you'd want a goalkeeper, a centre-back, a wing-back, probably. And probably none of those would have to be massive signings. Not massive ones. Then we're in a good place. Picture this, the top 4 is focused on Europe and United sneak their way to win the title. I'm just saying it's possible. Stranger things have happened, but I don't think we will win the league. But, ... We'll leave it at that. That seems like a good place to leave it. ... What is Manchester United's season going to be? I don't know. We'll focus a little bit more on that stuff next week. So we're going to do a stream on Friday, 11 a.m. So same time as this stream, going through transitions and how Manchester United, well, basically we'll have the conversation we are supposed to have today. So how we can get better in quick transitions, going forward and going backwards. So counter-attacking, trying to score goals, but also losing the ball and having to recover. We will have that conversation on Friday, which will be, what's that, the 8th, I think? 6th? Yeah, the 8th. Then on Monday, we will do predictions. As in, no, Tuesday, sorry. Let me try that again. This Friday, we'll be streaming again, talking about United in transitions, counter-attacks, things like that. What we will then do Tuesday, so a week today at the same time, is do predictions. Predictions of United season, hot takes, row predictions, thinking outside the box, the rest of the league, who the top scorer is going to be, all of that stuff. And then after that, the following stream would actually be Arsenal tactical preview. The season's close now. The season is very, very close. Big game this weekend against Fiorentina, where we just need to see more progress again. Really looking forward to that Arsenal game. I think we can do something there and send a bit of a message. Whether we will or not, I'm not so sure. Message in the chat. Damn, I still want to yap about United. Steve follows up with a perfect reply. If you want to yap about United, get yourself in the Discord server, because these lot do not stop yapping about United. Discord server is completely free to join. Like, you just have to have an account. You just press on the link. There's a link here at the top of the chat from David. Thank you very much, David. So you can use that one. If that one doesn't work, there is a link in the description of this stream. And if you've missed this stream, it's going to stay up as a video so you can watch it back. But if you join a Discord server, like I said, completely free. You just tap on it and job's done. It's literally that simple. And you can join a place with over 600 people going yap about United, about transfers, about players we've currently got, about tactics, about upcoming matches. So much stuff. So much stuff. So if you do want to join, check it out. It's good fun, and we've got a really, really good community. And you know we've got a good community because anyone that isn't good just gets booted, is gone and never seen again. Rest in peace. What we've got is people full of ideas and different opinions, but expressed in a really like calm, just fun way. It's a good place to be, and it's not quite as toxic as other servers that I've seen. I think it's a nice chill place to talk about football. Have to pay me a £2.50 entrance fee to join the Discord. That is false. Whatever you do, do not pay Heart Zapper at all costs, please. Please, please, please. It's a full Yap Discord server for real. Exactly. Exactly. Also a post-loss therapy room. It's everything, isn't it? It's like a hype chamber when we do well. It's a therapy session when we lose. And occasionally I'll just sprinkle some waffle in as well. So check out the Discord server if you haven't already. But apart from that, for today, we are finished. Yeah, don't fall for the Zep scam. Apart from that, we are finished for today's stream. So thank you guys very much for joining. Not quite what I had planned with this stream, but I enjoyed it actually. It was fun to take the structure away just for a stream and just sit and talk about United, because there is a lot going on right now. So yeah, I actually really enjoyed that. So shout out you guys. Thank you very much for the stream. Thank you for the super chats, for the donations, for the memberships. Very kind. Thank you if you've just been sitting there quietly, just minding your own business. If you've left a like, if you've subscribed, you're a real legend. And of course, all of you guys who have been waffling away in the chat, continue it over on the Discord, where I shall head now. And yeah, I will catch you guys. If I can find the stop stream button, I will catch you guys for another stream on Friday. Plenty of videos before then.